Imagine having that one dish that you're known for, the recipe that everyone in your family requests at the gatherings. You love it, you make it. It always turns out great for you. For me, that's gumbo. I love cooking. My family, my friends, they'll call and say, Krystal, you're making the gumbo, right? It's like my signature dish. The one thing I never forget how to make. But I'll never forget the time early in my marriage when I made a baked macaroni and cheese so good that my husband talked about it for years. It was buttery, golden, the best thing I had made early in my marriage years. But the crazy part, I have no idea how I made it to this day. I cannot recreate it. The recipe, gone. It's just not the same. I can make macaroni and cheese, but it's not that same one I did when I first got married. So this is an example of what was happening inside of my brain. The things that used to come naturally to me, the focus, the creativity, the memory, everything was slipping away. So I like to say this might be the signs that everybody missed. Looking back now, the signs were always there. I was a kid who got in trouble sometimes for talking too much in class. Not every single day, but enough. I had a story to tell, a song to sing, something to add on to what the teacher did not ask for. I daydreamed constantly. I was sitting in class but living in a whole nother world. I hated group work. Not that I didn't like people, but it was just too much and not at my own speed when I did group work. Always made careless mistakes. My room was always a mess. My book set was junky. I had papers everywhere, snacks, broken crayons, everything but what I actually needed probably was in the book sack. But I was smart. I was on the honor roll. I was a talented theater student. I was in talented music. I got a full IEP. Compliments were my fuel. At home, my mom, I was a wild child. I was dramatic. She would say, Krystal, when somebody tells you to stop, you have to stop. But I just kept on going. Even though I acted mature at school, I was not mature until about 7th grade, I would say. It took me longer to catch up, but I was creative. I was dramatic, expressive, full of ideas. I just didn't fit neatly inside the lines. And to this day, I still don't multiply the normal way. I do it my way. My mama taught me a different way because I had a hard time, and I'll show y'all one day. Back then, not many people called it ADHD. They called it talking too much, daydreaming, being careless. But I can see now that my brain was trying its best to fit in a world that did not understand it. In high school, everything came easy. I was top 10 in my class. I was involved in everything, and teachers adored me. But college was a wake-up call for me. I went from being the overachiever to the one who barely was hanging on. Suddenly, I was working full-time in my family's funeral home business. I was trying to keep up with classes, and I hit a wall. My first semester, I had a panic attack. I remember, like a literal panic attack. I remember calling my mama like, I can't do this, mama. But the only reason why I really stayed was because my husband, my boyfriend back then, was there. And my grades dropped significantly. I did not understand what was happening. I just felt stuck. The only classes that I truly loved and did well in was my Spanish classes because that was my major. Everything else felt like I was trying to study underwater. At some point in my younger years, food became my comfort, my reward, my escape. It was how I coped when life was too loud. And in college, I ate so much, I gained a lot of weight. They talk about freshman 15, baby, I gained about freshman 50. Motherhood brought everything to surface. At 8 months pregnant with my second child, I had another panic attack. The doctors called it prepartum depression, and they offered me Wellbutrin, but I declined because I told myself, like, I'm just push through this. Both of my pregnancies were rough. I wanted 6 kids when I first got married, but after that, I realized, baby, 2 is all I could handle. My business, Crown Crystals, was growing so fast. I had customers, orders, a team, running the business on fumes. My brain was all over the place. I forget important details, lose track of inventory, mix up tasks, and I just kept calling it what I always did, overwhelmed. One night, one of my daughters looked at me and she was like, Mama, sometimes I think when you get older, you might have dementia. And y'all, that made me feel so sad because I was feeling the same thing, the forgetfulness, but I did not have an answer for her. I realized something deeper was going on and I just did not know what yet. About 3 years ago, one of my daughters was having challenges in school. They wanted to have her assist, and my first thought was, she got that from her daddy. It can't be me. I even joked like, I can't relate, So through my researching and trying to understand my baby, I kept seeing myself. Every article, every checklist, the reels I was looking for. I was like, it just sound like me. Big emotions, impulsivity, burnout, the quirky things about me that made sense. So over the next couple of years, my symptoms started to get worse. I was forgetting more, feeling constantly overstimulated. My creativity, my spark, everything was dimming. I started to take online tests, ADHD tests, and all the tests I took came back severe ADHD. That's when I knew I needed some real answers. I started calling my mama like, y'all ever thought I had something? I made an appointment with a psychiatrist, went through the full evaluation and got my official diagnosis. I'll be honest, I cried, not from sadness, but from relief. It wasn't burnout, it wasn't laziness, it wasn't me being careless or inconsistent. It was ADHD. A diagnosis that did not label me, but for the first time, I had language for the thing that shaped me my entire life. There was some grief. I thought about the little girl who worked so hard to be good, not knowing her brain was just wired differently. But there was grace in the moment. Grace for her, grace for me. Now that I understand my brain, everything feels different. I don't fight it anymore. I build around it. I have learned that my brain is best in seasons, bursts of creativity. It needs time to rest, stop, trust the way that God made me, and I create differently now. I parent differently. I give myself permission to pause instead of trying to be everything at once. I focus on what actually matters: peace, presence, and purpose. One more thing, because I have to say this part, it's so important, and it honestly changed how I understood everything I was going through. I am 37 now, and around this age, a lot of women start going through perimenopause. And what I didn't know was that perimenopause can make ADHD symptoms so much louder. What I used to be able to mask, ignore, or push through suddenly felt like it was catching up at once. And that's exactly how a lot of women found out later in life that they even have ADHD. We've been masking, managing, overperforming, doing all the things, and then your hormones, it's like a veil lifts and everything starts to become 10 times harder without you realizing. You're like, wait, I don't know if this stress. When I was diagnosed with ADHD, I was diagnosed with ADHD combined, which means I struggle internally and externally. The constant thoughts, the mental noise, the impulsivity, the restlessness, the starting a million things at once, all of it. I just want to say this because I know somebody watching is the same age range going through hormonal changes, and this started before 37. Baby, you're not losing it. Sometimes you just finally seeing what's been there all along, and you might have ADHD too. If you've ever felt like something's wrong with you, like you've lost your rhythm, your spark, your drive, I just want you to know that you're not broken. You might just be wired differently, and that's okay. For me, understanding my ADHD wasn't finding an excuse, it was finding freedom. Freedom to rest, freedom to create differently, freedom to give myself grace. And as I always remind myself, Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. So if this story sounds familiar, if you see yourself in any of this, maybe it's time to learn how your brain shines too. Every sparkle still matters, and you're not alone.